Alright everyone, just a quick disclaimer before you make it onto the actual video. When I recorded this video, there was a motion put forward by Majority Leader Scott Fitzgerald to keep the Democratic senators from voting in the Senate in punishment for leaving the state. So that's what this video is about, and I was very passionate about it because my vote was being taken away. Since then, the Republicans have decided not to do that, mostly because most of them consider it to be a step too far. So it's no longer an immediate issue. However, I do think the points in the video still stand, so I'm going to post it anyway, and here's why. The fact that they even considered it, the fact that he even sent out that email, the fact that he officially put forward this idea is incredibly disturbing. The fact that he wanted to take away the votes and the representation of 14 districts in Wisconsin and thought that that was okay. And I really think we need to consider it, even just from a theoretical standpoint, because if people are considering it and they're putting it forward into government, someone else might write it into law, and that's really disturbing. So keep that in mind when you're watching this video, and I hope you enjoy it. I'm sorry that it's a little long. All right, on to the real video. Alright everyone, Anna back again from Madison, Wisconsin. As you can see, I'm outside today because it's sunny and gorgeous out, which makes me very happy. That aside, on to the politics. This week, a couple days ago, Scott Fitzgerald, who is the majority leader in the Senate, he sent out an email saying that in order to punish the Democrats who left and stayed in Illinois for 3 weeks for being in contempt of the Senate, they would not be allowed to vote in any committee meetings or Senate hearings until April 5th. They can voice their opinions, they can go to the meetings, they can debate, but they cannot have a vote. I'm not a lawyer, so I can't say this for sure. That sounds illegal to me, though. Very illegal, and here's why. Under the Constitution, I am guaranteed representation in my government. I go out, I'm allowed to vote, I have the right to vote, and I get to have my vote counted. If the person that I elect gets put into office, actually, if anyone gets put into office, they're supposed to represent me. I vote for them based on what they said they were going to do, and then they go in, and they carry those plans out. As everyone's been pointing out, Walker was elected. He's carrying things out. I elected someone to represent me in the Senate. They are not allowed to vote now, which means that I do not have representation in the Senate anymore. They can talk, but the Republicans don't have to listen. They don't have any way of affecting change. Now, I know one of the arguments is going to be, well, there's a Republican majority anyway, so the Democratic vote probably wouldn't go through. It probably wouldn't make that big of a difference. That doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if they're going to win anyway, and here's why. A lot of what keeps the government running is symbolism. A lot of things, elections, a lot of times we know who's going to win an election. It doesn't matter if you go out and vote, but you do it anyway, and the votes get counted anyway. Imagine this. Imagine if the Democrats came forward and they said, guys, the polls are in, Obama's going to win the next election. Let's say it was overwhelmingly in his favor. It could be. We don't know. So they said he's going to win the next election, so we're just not going to have an election. It's messy, it's too complicated. It'll be easier, we can just put him into power, because we already know. Even if it is the case, even if he was going to win the next election, how angry would you be? I would be furious, because that's not how our government's supposed to work. We're supposed to count the vote no matter what. It doesn't matter if we already know the outcome. We are supposed to have a voice. We are supposed to have representation. Right now, me, sitting right here on my back porch, personally, don't think about the statistics, don't think about the numbers. It's 14 districts who won't be represented. But put that aside. I am sitting here telling you right now that I personally do not have representation in my state Senate. They cannot vote on bills, they can't do anything except talk, and the Republicans don't have to listen. So, the symbolism is what keeps it running. The symbolism is what keeps it a democracy, or a representative republic, as we actually are, because it's not a true democracy. Because a lot of times you know the outcome, but you hold the vote anyway, because it shows people that you have a commitment to the system and a commitment to the people of the United States and to their well-being. Right now, we don't have that. That's why people are calling this a dictatorship in Wisconsin, because anytime something happens, the Republicans change it so that it goes in their favor. They change it to punish people. Now, first of all, I believe the Democrats were doing their jobs when they were in Illinois. They were on the phone with their constituents, they were taking meetings, they were emailing people. The only thing they weren't doing was going back to the Senate to hold a vote. But they were trying to compromise, and they were trying to talk to the Republicans. In my opinion, they were doing their job. However, let's say you believe that they weren't. That's your opinion, and that's fine. Maybe they were in contempt of the Senate in your mind. Legally, they were not, because denying a quorum is one of the tools given to senators in Wisconsin in order to stop a bill. It is one of the tools given to them under the state constitution. In fact, it's in other states as well. Most famously, Abraham Lincoln climbed out the window in order to prevent a quorum. And he's one of the most famous Republicans ever to legislate in the United States, as we all know. So this is a tool that they are allowed because they're not allowed to filibuster in Wisconsin. In my mind, that puts them not in contempt of the Senate. They were using a tool that they are provided with by the law, and they were in contact with their constituents. I think they were doing their job. However, even if they were in contempt of the Senate, taking away their right to vote in the Senate is not an attack on them as personally. What it is, it's an attack on the people that they represent. I do not have a representative right now. I mean, they're sitting in office, they're trying to do their job, and they're not being allowed to. That's not punishing them, that's punishing me. And whether or not you think I should have elected them into office, I still get a say, and I still have that right. It is, you can say that collective bargaining isn't an inalienable right, that that's not one of the rights protected by the Constitution. Okay, we can debate on that sometime. But this is my right to representation. This is one of the most basic rights in the United States. People have died for the right to vote and be represented in government. And we all know that that's the case. The civil rights movement, the women's rights movement, people have fought and died. This is the most important right in our country. So it doesn't matter if my representatives' vote would not change the state of a vote in the Senate. It doesn't matter if a bill would go through with or without them. That doesn't matter because I'm supposed to be represented anyway. I'm supposed to have the chance to have that put to the test and to see if the vote would go through with or without them, to have them there to have a say on my behalf. And that's not happening. Now I want to point out something else. The Democrats, supposedly in contempt of the Senate. We have a Republican senator here called Randy Hopper. Randy Hopper is one of the Republicans who's up for recall. And when the protesters went to Randy Hopper's house, his wife, soon to be ex actually, informed them that he is no longer living in district. He's living with his mistress in Wisconsin, who is a lobbyist. Now, personal choices aside, he can live his life however he wants. I think it's hypocritical to campaign and push family values all the time and then go and run off with a 25-year-old, but there's a lot of hypocrites in politics, and we all know that. So, personal life aside, he's not living in the district that he represents, which means that he is, and he never told anyone officially, he never changed his address, he never informed anyone that he was no longer living in that district. So he is ineligible to represent that district. That's like, let's take it on a national level again. Obama moves to Mexico and doesn't tell anyone. Should he still be president of the United States? My answer is no, because he's not living in the place that he's representing. He's not aware of the issues that he's supposed to be dealing with because he's not living them. If you want to represent a district properly, you have to be living the issues. You have to be there talking to the people. Randy Hopper is not doing that, but he still gets a vote in the Senate. I don't think we should take away his vote in the Senate. I think that he's up for recall. I think that recall is one of the tools that the people have to keep him in check. You know, he can get taken out of office, that's one thing. But there should be someone representing that district there to take a vote. They should have a representative. So whatever they decide to do with him, they will have someone there. But he still gets a vote, and my senator does not. They're not allowed to vote. I don't have someone representing me officially right now. And the other thing is, what if this precedent gets set here, if this goes through, they're just going to keep taking more. I mean, I don't trust politicians. I don't trust Democrats. I don't trust Republicans. I know that they're going to lie, and I know that they're going to go back on campaign promises and all sorts of things like that. So if they continue getting away with this, if the Democrats were allowed to get away with this, it wouldn't stop there. It doesn't stop there. It doesn't matter if it's this legislation or the next one. Someone else is going to push it a little bit further. And maybe right now it's benefiting you, but will it always? Will the people in power always be on your side? Will they always uphold your beliefs? There's a reason that we have these checks and balances in order to keep an eye on the government, because it is supposed to be representing the people, and we are supposed to have a say. And I'm sorry, the answer is not they were elected into office, now you have to deal with whatever they do. They're still supposed to be representing the people. One of the things that Scott Fitzgerald is also trying to push through is changing the laws that apply to recall elections, so making it harder for the people to recall their senators. What a recall does is you get enough petitions together and you can hold another election if they've been in office for over a year. You can hold another election and the people then get to decide who they want representing them. So it's not just taking them out of power because you don't like what they're doing. It's saying, I'm not sure about this and I want a chance for the people to speak again. Which is an incredibly important tool in order to make sure that the government is answerable to the people that they're supposed to be representing, that they don't get too much power and this doesn't turn into a dictatorship, and that there is still the will of the people being done here. that we are able to say, oh, whoa, I know I put you into office, but I don't like what you're doing right now, and it's hurting me, and I want to take a step back, and I want to make a change. That's how this is supposed to go. Every single thing that they're pushing through is they're trying to make it harder for people to be represented. And if you're on their side right now, and if you support their bill, that's your opinion, and that's fine. But if they put these laws into place, someday they could be turned against you by someone else. And I think that that's awful. I think that everyone should be represented. I don't think it should just be the Democrats or just be the Republicans. I think that we need to make sure that everyone is represented in their government and represented fairly, because that is the basis of what our country is founded on. Yes, it's an ideal. Yes, it's not always carried out in practice. And yes, there are problems. But I don't think there's anything wrong with being an idealist. I think that you should be an idealist because then you keep fighting for things to be perfect. You understand you're never going to reach that perfection, but you keep trying and you keep trying new things and you keep fighting to make it better for everyone. So this is a major issue right now for me. It doesn't matter if they don't even put any votes through before April 5th. The symbolism of me being represented in government is not there. What my government stands for is no longer there. What the United States stands for is no longer there. And if it happens now, and if we let it go, we don't know what will happen next, and we don't know who will be the ones doing it. So I think that everyone should be taking a stand against this, because I think that everyone, Democrat, Republican, conservative, liberal, it doesn't matter. You should have a fair representation in government. And I hope that you feel that I should have a fair representation in government too, because that is the principle that our government is founded on, the ideal. So we should keep fighting for that. Get out there, make a difference. If you feel strongly about a cause, fight for it. Don't just sit back and let things happen. Because the longer we sit back and let things happen, the worse it gets, the harder it gets for more people, and the harder it'll be to change it. So thanks for listening. Tune in again when I post my next video. I don't know what the subject will be yet. We'll see what they do next. And go out and make a difference. Vote, recall, whatever you feel that you need to be doing right now. Make sure that you're out there making your voice heard. Because we've taken this right to be represented for granted, and now it's getting taken away from us. And we can't let that happen. All right, everyone. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.